One of the things I witnessed in North Philly, which is the neighborhood where my family mostly is, was that around in the early 2000s, there were a lot of young men and a few young women showing up in uniform all of a sudden on the street. When you ask them, they'd say, why enlist? Because I want to make my family proud, because I love my country, I want to get out. And so I started to realize there's this generation of kids really fleeing the fallout of a domestic war, which was the war on drugs, and actually engaging in a war abroad. So I told the story of them as kids. As the war raged on in Iraq, the story was not done. I had told that snippet of it, but then these young people started coming home and bringing a lot home with them. And so I decided, okay, the story's gonna continue. And this is not just gonna be the snippet of that moment of lost innocence, it's gonna be an arc of how does a child go from that to becoming an adult. I wrote the first word of Elliot, a Soldier's Fugue in 2003. It was a play written about a young man who enlisted in the Marines a few months before the president declared war in Iraq. So it was not fortuitous timing, and the inspiration was my cousin, who, that was his story. So it was just me bearing witness to how that conflict changed him. I wrote Water by the Spoonful in 2011. I drove from my home in Washington Heights in New York and drove to North Philly and interviewed my cousin, who had been in recovery for a few decades. And I was scared to tell a story that was that vulnerable. In The Happiest Song Plays Last, Elliot is starting to forge his way towards an adulthood that he is choosing, and also a life that has chosen him too. There's going to be a weekend or two in which you can see the trilogy chronologically, or at least over the course of a few months you'll be able to catch all 3 plays. And it's really thrilling. I wrote them in isolation, but I have since re-explored them as pieces that work together. So you see one and you get that beginning, middle, end, you get that story, but you see 2 of them, you see 3 of the plays, and you get that sense of family all of a sudden. And so I think the ending of the entire trilogy lands in a deeper way.